Alexi Laiho was born on April 8, 1979 in Espoo, Finland, at Jorvi Hospital. Espoo, a Finnish city south of Helsinki, boasts a lively art scene and stunning natural beauty. Alexi's dad, Heikki Laiho, was a musician who played keyboards in a band called The Beggars. His mom, Christina, was also a musician. She played the piano and the flute and had a background in classical music. Alexi's folks signed him up for piano lessons when he was 5. He then switched gears and started playing the violin, sticking with that until he was 12. Alexi dug deep into the music of classical legends like Mozart and Vivaldi. He got his first guitar, a Tokai Stratocaster, from his dad in 1990. And that's when his love for the instrument really took off. When he was 13, Alexi sat down with his parents and told them that he wanted to be a musician.
Like, subscribe, thank you.
Alexi really got into rock and metal bands when he was growing up. He was heavily influenced by bands like Guns N' Roses, especially their album Appetite for Destruction, especially Slash's guitar work on that album. Alexi was also a big fan of Metallica and was really blown away by Steve Vai's For the Love of God from the album Passion and Warfare. And Alexi was also a huge Megadeth fan, especially their album Rust in Peace, which he considered one of the best metal albums ever. But it was For the Love of God that really sparked his interest in the guitar. After that, Alexi really dug into learning how to play the instrument. He became so obsessed with guitar in high school that he skipped classes to learn metal and shredding from instructional videos at home. Alexi was self-taught, which really helped him create a cool style. Fast, technical playing mixed with classical-sounding melody lines. Alexi was notorious for his grueling practice sessions, and this philosophy helped him develop a unique and versatile way of playing. He was really into the technical side, but he always made sure that his solos had a strong melody. He wanted them to have a certain emotional punch. And since he had a knack for melody, which showed up in his songs and his guitar playing, soon this practice would pay off, but first Alexi needed a band. Alexi and drummer Jaska Radikainen started a band called In Earth in 1993. They had been friends since they were kids, totally into metal, especially death metal bands like Dissection, Entombed, and Cannibal Corpse. So In Earth laid down their first demo, Implosion of Heaven, in August of '93. The band's lineup shuffled around a bit in the beginning, with bassist Samuel Meitenen getting swapped out for Henka Blacksmith Sapala in early of '96. Sapala, who knew Laiho and Radikainen from school, also sang backing vocals. Alexi wanted to use keyboards more in the music, but their original keyboard player, Yanni Perezhowski, was always skipping rehearsals. So Yanni was out, and in his place came Jan Warman, a jazz pianist and friend of Radikainen, and they would end up recording 3 demos, including one called Shining. The album was originally slated for release on Shiver Records, a small Belgian label. So Sammy Tennant, who used to sing for Thy Serpent, got his hands on the album, and so his label Spine Farm Records decided that they wanted to put it out nationwide. However, as In Earth, they had a deal with Shiver Records, and due to the typical legal crap, they had to switch names in order to be able to sign with Spine Farm.
We just told the Belgian record label that we broke up, and Changed the name, yeah. And,
to get rid of the deal, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The classic trick.
Yeah. Yeah, come on, it was a crappy-ass deal, so I don't give a fuck.
But it still turned out to be a blessing. The name change was inspired by the Lake Bodom murders, a pretty dark story that's well known in Espoo. This turns out to be one of the most famous unsolved cases in Finnish criminal history. It involved 4 youths who decided to camp out one night in 1960 when they were camping on the shore of Lake Bodom, which was near the city of Espoo. There were 2 guys who had brought their girlfriends, and so they spent the day chilling out, having a good time around the lake, and then they ended up going to sleep. And sometime between 4 and 6 in the morning, on Sunday, June 5th, 1960, 2 of the girls and 1 of the guys were bludgeoned to death by an unknown assailant. One of the guys, Gustafsson, was actually the only survivor, and all the bones in his face were broken. And so that appeared to confirm that he was actually a victim of this as well. And he described the attacker as wearing all black but having bright red eyes. And a little bit down the way, there was a group of boys at about 6 a.m. who had seen a blonde man walking away from the tent, and the tent was totally collapsed. The bodies were discovered a little later in the day by a carpenter who happened to be out at the lake. What makes the story crazy is that the assailant never actually entered the tent. He just attacked everybody who was inside of the tent from outside of the tent. Long story short, there were a couple other suspects, but in the end, the person who had claimed to be the only surviving member, who was the victim, ended up getting arrested because it turned out that the broken bones in his face were actually due to him getting drunk and getting kicked out of the tent by the others when he had attacked one of the other boys and getting his jaw broken. And of course, when it hit the courts, things got messy, and in the end, he ended up getting acquitted of all the charges. And this was because they saw the evidence as being inconclusive. Nevertheless, it turned out to be some great inspiration for the band name, Children of Bodom. And Children of Bodom felt right to the band. It captured that dark and mysterious vibe of the music. The first album, Something Wild, hit Finland in late 97 and then went worldwide in 1998. And the album ended up going gold in Finland, as well as their next 4 records all hitting #1 on the Finnish charts. And the album is really intense, blending in all sorts of different metal styles, from neoclassical, death metal, speed metal, thrash, and even a little touch of pop for good measure. But it really showed off the band's mad skills and creative ideas. We're talking some seriously impressive musicianship, especially Alexi's killer riffs and licks, and Jan's awesome keyboard work. Some standout tracks are Dead Night Warrior and Red Light in My Eyes Part 1. So after dropping their debut album, Children of Bodom hit the road for their first European tour in February of '98. They ended up constantly on the road, giving it their all in the live shows, which helped them build a really loyal following and become a serious force in the metal scene. So as the millennium approached, Children of Bodom's star was on the rise. They dropped their second album, Hatebreeder, in early '99, which topped charts across Europe. Riding this wave of success, they snagged 3 shows in Japan, even recording a live album called Tokyo Warhearts. And the band kept pushing forward, releasing Follow the Reaper in 2000, recorded at the famous Abyss studio in Sweden. But it was their 2003 release, Hate Crew Death Roll, that really put them on the map. And this one stayed at the top of the Finnish charts for 3 weeks, earning them their first gold album. The Children of Bodom hit the road for their first world tour in 2003, but the drama was brewing. Mid-tour, Alexander Kopala shocked everyone by announcing that he was leaving the group. He was their steadfast rhythm guitarist behind Alexi, and Alexi later hinted that a new girlfriend might have been behind Alexander's sudden change of heart. But the band didn't let the setback slow him down. They brought in Rupa Latvala as a replacement and kept on rocking. Rupa, of course, was part of the influential band Stone that really helped kick off the Finnish metal scene back in the day. And that guy could really shred as well. In 2005, they released Are You Dead Yet?, the biggest hit to date, despite mixed fan reactions to their evolving sound. But then the hits kept coming, as in January 2007, Alexi took a nasty spill at a bowling alley, shattering his left shoulder, which ended up sidelining him for 6 weeks, and this forced the band to cancel the first tours of the year. But undeterred, Children of Bodom bounced back with Blood Drunk in 2008, followed by Relentless Reckless Forever in 2011, and Halo of Blood in 2013. And each album saw the band experimenting with their sound and pushing boundaries. In 2015, controversy struck again when the band ended up firing Rupa Latvala without explanation. Rupa felt really betrayed, and he ended up falling further into alcohol abuse as a result, and basically just hanging up his guitars and pretty much calling it quits, at least for a while. Alexi claimed that Latvala wasn't pulling his weight, but the whole situation really left a bitter taste. Nevertheless, the band soldiered on, releasing I Worship Chaos in 2015, and then Hexed in 2019. But behind the scenes, tensions were building. In November 2019, they announced their final show with the current lineup, citing disagreements between Alexi and the other band members. Throughout their career, Children of Bodom racked up multiple gold and platinum albums. Alexi was even named the world's best guitarist by Metal Hammer magazine in 2006, but success came at a price, with Alexi struggling with serious substance abuse and other issues during this part in his career. So as Children of Bodom's fame grew, so did the pressures on Alexi. The relentless touring and recording schedule began to take its toll, and Alexi found himself turning to alcohol and drugs in order to cope. And this marked the beginning of a long and difficult battle with addiction that would impact both his personal life and the band's future. In 2012, Children of Bodom had to call off some gigs because Alexi was dealing with serious stomach problems, and doctors later figured out his issues were linked to heavy drinking. As a result, he would always find himself getting injured, breaking bones, ending up in the hospital a bunch of times, and his problems went beyond just drugs and alcohol. In 1998, Alexi tried calling it quits through a bunch of tranks washed down with whiskey, and he kept on with the reckless, self-destructive stuff, breaking his wrist in 2006 while drunk, and then his shoulder in 2008 after getting tossed from the tour bus bunk. But Alexi was a dedicated musician. Even when he was in pain or sick, he'd still get on the stage and play. But of course, this affected his band as well. Laiho's addiction messed with his head, and it caused some serious tension with the other people in the group. Jan Warman on keyboards, Jaska on drums, Henka on bass all left Children of Bodom at the end of 2019, saying that Alexi's behavior was the main reason. Apparently, Alexi was threatening to fire the band members and the manager, which people were just chalking up to his illness by that time. So after Children of Bodom broke up, Alexi Laiho started a new band called Bodom After Midnight in March 2020. And the band had some serious firepower. Daniel Freyberg on the guitar, who had taken up duties in Children of Bodom, Waltteri Vyrynen on the drums, and Mitja Toivonen holding down the bass line. And even though Laiho was dealing with the health problems, he was definitely very stoked about the new project and really wanted to make it work. Bodom After Midnight laid down some tracks, with their Paint the Sky with Blood EP being Laiho's last recordings before he ended up dying in December 2020. Alexi was all in on music in the band right up to the last show in October of 2020. And on December 29th, 2020, Alexi Laiho had passed away from complications related to alcohol-related damage to his liver and pancreas. And it turned out that he had a mix of painkillers and opioids, sleeping pills all in the system. The real struggles had actually started around 2008, when it started affecting his relationship with the group. And even after promising his bandmates he'd get better, he ended up relapsing in 2016. He had a rough time with his health, dealing with stomach ulcers and all sorts of other issues. And even though he was getting worse, Alexi totally refused to go to rehab. In some of his later interviews, he would talk about stopping drinking and really kind of harping on it throughout the interview, as if obviously it was the first thing on his mind. And he would say things like that he would just like to be able to just drink in moderation, and that would be it. Unfortunately, that was never the case.
And I needed to kind of like prove to myself that I can sort of drink like a normal person.
His bandmates did everything to try to get him help, but he'd always just say, no, let me just deal with this on my own. And then one of the most chilling things was that in 2016, Alexi had told Jan Warman that basically he would just be drinking until he died. And as the years had rolled on, both his fans and bandmates were noticing the deterioration in his health. He had dropped a bunch of weight and was definitely looking pretty rough during the shows. He was hurting bad and definitely wasn't even at the top of his game guitar-wise, but he would still tough it out, playing through the pain, even though oftentimes one could see the frustration on his face. Towards the end, he was determined not to cancel any shows, but during one performance, his body finally just gave out, forcing him to stop playing. But the music world was quick to shower praise and condolences on Alexi Laiho, recognizing him as a massive talent and one of extreme metal's biggest names. Steve Vai paid tribute to Alexi Laiho, saying that he brought in a high-octane, intense metal at its most brutal and beautiful. Steve Vai went on to say that Laiho was a really good guy, pretty quiet and low-key, but damn, he was one hell of a guitar player. A true monster on the stage. Necrogoblikon did a cover of Children of Bodom's Bodom Beach Terror in honor of Alexi. And ESP, Alexi's signature guitar brand, also put up a big tribute to him, sending their condolences to his loved ones and fans around the world. A lot of fans talked about how Alexi Laiho's music motivated them to get better at playing And after his passing was announced, his wife, Kelly Laiho, gave fans a shout out for their support. And playing their final show in Helsinki on December 15, 2019, after Alexi Laiho's passing, the remaining founding members of the band got together, relaunching their official online store in order to honor the band's legacy and keep the diehard fans happy. You know, in a lot of ways, Alexi was really ushering in a newer wave of metal, but he actually kept the original sensibilities of all the hard-hitting bands dating back to the birth of metal. He was dedicated and always brought his A game. Even at the very end, he did everything that he could to push through the pain in order to keep on putting on one hell of a show. He definitely had a profound impact on music, and metal certainly wouldn't be the same without him. I want to thank all my subscribers for the kind feedback and inspiration. You guys really keep me motivated, and I appreciate it. And if you haven't had the chance to subscribe, make sure you smack that subscribe button. And while you're at it, hit the like button as well. And I want to thank you so much for watching.